I think the nice thing about it's getting to be a really exciting time of year here because we are, about 40 to 45 days away from the release of the new Star Wars film, The Last Jedi. So I thought it was only
Apropos,
to start this episode with an unboxing.
I do have one comment. I remember you at some point saying, you know what, I've got to wean myself off the Gentle Giant mini bus. It's like The Godfather. You think you're out, they pull you back in.
And it's true. I mean,
It's true, they got you, but you have a thing for Rey, much in the same way I have a thing for Power Girl.
and to order these into Canada, they're bloody expensive. It's like $180 I paid for this.
Ooh, wow, not cheap.
But again, the nice thing about it is
Limited,
very limited.
2,500.
2,500 in
Take
all.
that towards camera there so we can see that.
2,500 in all, and this is number 602. So,
Tilt it towards the camera so we can see that number.
well, you'll see the number when
right.
I film it close up. Now,
Dun, dun, dun. There it is.
first thing you do is you get the
the card.
certificate of authenticity,
Yeah, there you go.
and there it is, the number 602 out of 2,500. So you got that there.
It's on the box itself, on the box on the bottom, and it's also in the pack here on the top.
Yeah. So we're moving along here. We got the.
Yeah, it's a nice likeness, and that's
I like-
that's what you're looking at first. I don't know about you when you kind of have the criteria when you're looking at something.
Yeah.
Face is the first thing you
Face is
always
the
look
first thing you look at.
and then the overall general pose
Yeah.
or of the figure to see if
Yeah.
it's like something dynamic, something cool looking. So
So it comes packed in a nice styrofoam back box with the Star Wars Gentle Giant logo in front of it there.
there it is.
Ooh.
Okay.
There she is.
Ooh.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, she's pretty
She's
good.
pretty. Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh
good likeness,
my.
very good likeness.
Again, yeah, when it comes to Gentle Giant, they spare no expense. The quality is second to none.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Yeah,
And,
they're top tier.
Top tier. I mean, I would say second only to a company like maybe Hot Toys. And as far as quality goes, I don't really think Gentle Giant is any lesser quality, but they kind of specialize in the stones. Well, I mean, I'm going to shoot close up, so I mean, you can see it there.
Yeah.
But that's what she looks like, and
This
wow.
is beautiful. Wow.
I'm super happy about getting this. I ordered it in from Retro Rare Collectibles a few months ago, and
She finally came in.
finally came in. I didn't have an opportunity to show it to you in the past, so like I said, 40 days to the new film.
There she be. And
Countdown.
Very
begins.
excited.
of course, there's other stuff dropping. Next Friday, we're shooting this on October the 27th. November the 3rd, Thor Ragnarok, or what do you call it? Fraggle Rock is
Fraggle
dropping. Fraggle Rock is dropping.
Thor
in a week
Fraggle.
from now.
I will probably like it.
It
I'm
looks
pretty
like
sure
it's
it
going to
looks
be a
pretty good.
bundle of fun. It's just going to be one of
Yeah.
those fine, light-hearted action kind of movies, kind of buddy, like Thor
Yeah.
and the Hulk. It's going to be great. And then a couple of weeks later, in November, we got the Justice League of America movie dropping. Excited to see people like Cyborg and especially Wonder Woman and that kind of thing. Hoping for a good
Nice.
movie there.
Nice.
And of course, I'm going to feature a big book picked up by one of our locals, the boys from Gotham there. We'll be featuring a book. That movie is coming out February 16th of 2018. A big book. Nice book to look forward to. Yeah, we got some good stuff this episode.
Cool,
But then
cool.
don't we always?
We always do. Okay, so without wasting any more time, we're gonna go over there. We got some pretty good books to show tonight.
And something else.
Undoubtedly.
And something else.
Indubitably.
And some other stuff that Mike's brought as well. Something I think
Yeah.
you're gonna like. Another collectible outside the realm of comics.
All right.
So yeah, let's go over there and let's get started.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so High End Jose is going to be starting off this evening, and yeah, I guess we've seen this book before. This is a really nice copy of Starfire the original Starfire.
Original Starfire #1.
And I have it too.
Of course. You know what? I thought of that, and I know you guys have probably featured this book. So, you know what? Me always thinking about your considerations here, you know what? I thought I'd start with something comforting. In other words, a book we all share, because these other books are meant to cause maximum damage.
Oh,
You
well,
know,
this book,
kicks to the solar plexus there.
Oh,
And
so this is a softener.
it's
well,
a
this-
softener.
you can pick this book up in any $5 bin at every Comic
And
Con.
that's the point. I am starting out.
that.
High End Jose is starting out with his bargain books.
Yeah.
And these bargain books, the connecting theme is we're going cosmic. These are books that out of the world prices that you can pick for these books, and they're
Yes.
still keys.
Gnarly.
So let's start with this. Starfire #1, September 1976, of course, first appearance of Starfire.
Starfire.
Yeah, it's always been relatively easy to find. Yes, we mentioned that. It's been a bargain book for as long as I or you guys can ever remember. Yeah, I've noticed copies have been drying up lately. Not seeing it as much at cons and at stores.
Well, that's the thing. It's,
Yeah. Now, why is that? Of course, I think in play, guys who are basically speculators. This is for sure a spec book.
speculative pick.
Yeah, and it can still be found in multiples, I guess, sometimes. The premise is that Starfire's home planet has two casts, one favoring science and the other religion. Yeah, and they fought wars using alien proxy fighters. Now, these proxy fighters rose up and revolt and enslaved their former employees, setting up Starfire's story. Now, I think the science versus religion theme resonates quite strongly in our world of today, especially with things going on politically south of the border.
That's for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that Starfire is a strong female character. As I've mentioned before, there is a trend towards strong female characters in comics, and I see no reason why Starfire wouldn't fit right in amongst the best of them. And I also like that her abilities are not fantastical. She's basically a great swordswoman. She can handle a bow, and she possesses hunting prowess. I've always thought that these types of characters lend well to quality storytelling. Think of her as a galactic Red Sonja.
Yeah.
Or
that-
even
yeah.
even Barbarella, maybe.
Exactly.
Even
Barbarella.
yeah. Ooh, coming up in December.
Yes. Yeah. So she was created by one of my favorite writers of the time, David Michelin. David was responsible for some of the best work of the era. He penned the Iron Man alcoholism story as well as Spider-Man's Venom stories. The boy could write.
Nice.
Yeah. Beep, beep, beep. Load up on this book while you can. That's the sound of a truck backing up.
So you think this book is going to take off at some point? I guess that's what you're saying.
I think there's lots of upside to this book, and for a very small investment. 47th Overstreet price books, the price breaks shows 8, 11, and $14 US as the 8, 9, and 9.2 price splits.
So in other words, nothing.
Yeah.
They're nothing.
Strengths of this
Just
book,
watch.
Yeah.
it's a good long-term investment. First appearance of Starfire, cheap in the market. Interesting last note, the Overstreet notes that the CCA, that's the Comics Code Authority stamp, fell off the cover art. So it was still approved by code. You will not see a CCA stamp on
Love
this.
it.
Yeah, unlike my fave Teen Titans character Starfire, whose first appearance in DC Comics Presents 26 will set you back big coin in the highest grades, this last will only set you back less than admission price to a movie.
Nice.
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 So let's get to the reveal of the second book.
Let's get to the meat and potatoes, Mike. Oh,
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
My heart just leapt from me.
God. Mike, be careful. Man. That's like a $180 statue.
Okay, now with that excitement behind us,
Holy, oh my God.
My heart stopped too.
let's see if we can get to the book. That was not planned, needless to say, viewers. This is Aliens 1 from Dark Horse from May of 1988. This has the first appearance of Newt and Hicks in comics, and supposedly also the first appearance of aliens in comics. And I should put that with a
Wow.
question mark.
Oh, yeah.
Now, in our horror episode, I mentioned that sci-fi horror has been two genres that have been crossed over many times in films, and there's no doubt in my mind personally that the first Aliens movie was along those lines. The great thing about the first movie by my favorite director Ridley Scott was the buildup of tension, much like John Carpenter's The Thing. Extreme tension and suspense was a key component that brought out the horror element on both movies. Unlike the sequel Aliens, which was more of a straight-ahead sci-fi action movie, the actual monster was not revealed until later in the film and was at first only shown in small bursts of terror. The alien xenomorph from the Aliens franchise has been a comic fanboy favorite monster for over 30 years. Now, while the comics were more based on the James Cameron film or after the events, the thought of xenomorphs and those little face-hugging critters that swarm across the floor is still pretty terrifying to most people. actually, those face huggers creeped the hell out of me when I saw the movie at the theaters. I don't know about you guys.
Certainly did, yeah.
Yeah. Now, let's get to this book. This is the first issue of a issue limited series by Dark Horse Comics. If you want to get overly technical, this comic is still thought of as the first appearance of aliens in comics, meaning the actual comic book format.
Yeah.
Now, I don't necessarily agree that it's the first appearance of the alien xenomorph in comics, since I also think that magazine-sized books and graphic novels are also quote-unquote comics.
Yeah.
Now, as long as it's not a freaking 200-page up a novel or paperback-sized book or something like that, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. Fans and the industry speak sometimes, and I don't agree. Actually, a lot of times I don't agree. So if we're going to get really extra anal comic size format BS, then this should be the first appearance of aliens, unless CGC has a really good argument as to why Dark Horse Comics presents issue 24, which has a cover date of November of 1988, is. Actually, if any of our viewers know why, I'd love to hear the reason why that's
Yeah.
anything. One thing that isn't confusing, of course, is that this comic definitely has the first appearance of the characters of Hicks and Newt in comics. Now, but these characters were later changed in the books to other characters. Why was that? Well, it's because this series was supposed to be a direct sequel to Aliens in the franchise continuity. However, Hollyweird said, screw that story. Yeah. So what did they do? They pumped out the uneven David Fincher directed Aliens 3, which had the characters of Hicks and Newt dead.
Yeah.
Now, I'm serious here. Later Dark Horse Alien comics actually changed to fit in with the continuity of the Aliens movies.
Yeah.
They should have done what Star Wars did and disregard the comic stories
they
as
should have.
canon.
Yeah.
Anyways, I still don't distinguish between magazine-sized comic books. I still think Alien, the illustrated story, a one-shot graphic novel released by Heavy Metal in 1979, has the first appearance of aliens. The adaptation from screen to panels was done by Archie Goodwin and Walt Simonson. Now, word has it that this Aliens issue number 1 here has a lower print run, but I couldn't really find any info on that, so I don't know if that's true. Alien and Aliens are among my all-time favorite sci-fi horror flicks. I love both for very different reasons. One is a lot more suspenseful, while the other is definitely more action-driven, but retains a bit of the suspense that dominated much of the first film. This is a comic series that I grew up with reading and geeking out on. This is from my personal stash from my original collection. It's one of the survivors. I left a bad taste in my mouth when they came out with Aliens 3 and tarnished the franchise, and then they tarnished it even more with that almost unwatchable fourth movie.
That's for sure.
Oh well, c'est la vie.
Just to put in my 2 cents worth here, I didn't mind the third Alien, especially the director's cut, but the fourth one was pretty much unwatchable.
Oh, horrible.
Anyway, to end it off, the 47th edition of the Overstreet comic book price guide shows only $15, $22, and $28 US as the 8, 9, and 9.2 price splits. Of course, I don't have to say that I paid cover price of $2.95 or whatever it was at the time.
Can't go wrong there.
Tough black cover to get, actually. In the highest grade, I have seen, in the past anyway, CGC 9.8s of this book have brought as much as about $500 US, though.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what you get when you get a really highest grade with a really tough black book that's now almost 30 years old.
Yeah.
$500 may not seem unreasonable to some people who love the Aliens franchise.
And now that you mentioned the Heavy Metal magazine, I'm now going to have to go out and find it, because based on what you just told me, that would be the very first appearance
of the alien.
Of the
Yes.
xenomorph.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm going to go try and find that at the next Fan Expo.
I remember seeing those books in
Well, live and learn, Paul.
Yeah. Anyways, that's a fantastic way to start our episode, Jose. Thanks for bringing those ones in.
No problem. Well, you know what that old saying that goes something like, this is a serious form of flattery, Wow, I
The
know.
imitation thing.
Yes, exactly. I know exactly where you picked this up, and I know exactly who you got this from, because I checked her out, man, and wow. Hey, Kira, one of my faves. Way to score, Mike.
Okay, first of all, you guys, I saw both pictures before you bought yours.
Says Mike.
Says Mike. And I did, but this is the one I liked. Oh.
It is a great picture of her. Yeah.
Now,
Yes.
again, we've seen an earlier episode where Jose says yes, it does have a letter of authenticity on the back. What is that worth? Nothing really.
It's a piece of paper that has
It's a
some
piece of
writing
paper
on it.
yeah, exactly.
What
So-
you're buying when you're buying autographs, you're buying a certain degree of trust from the person you're dealing with. In other words, you buying the integrity of the dealer you acquire the piece from.
Sandy's got a lot of integrity, so we.
Yeah.
He's been in the business for what, 30 plus years. We don't want to, age him, but I mean, the man knows his stuff. He
Oh, and he's been on some boards and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He'll never sell you bullshit, is what we're saying.
he basically
Bar none.
stands by his product.
Yeah.
Bar none. So, but I did check out the autograph by itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a blogger who collects autographs.
Mm-hmm.
And is really interesting about this girl is her autograph has deteriorated so quickly, probably more than any other person ever.
Well, what do you mean deteriorated?
I think what
her
he-
first autograph, you could see her actual
Okay.
full letter name.
Now she just
Then
puts a mark.
after the first year, then it became to this.
Yeah.
After the second or third year, KK. And then from then till now, it is just like a weeble wobble line
That-
like that.
that
It
is
just
interesting.
crazy
I
how
mean,
much her
It's
autograph has changed.
for somebody who's young, who's probably, like I said, I mean, it's something that some people may not put any thought into, but it's interesting because it can give you kind of more of a time frame to give you an idea. Because once something's signed, you may not really know the date. I mean, if something is written on it that can date the thing, maybe that's good. What autograph collectors I would think to like to have is the context of the image. In other words, is this something that is from early in their career, for mid-career, or from the end of their career or
Yeah.
life? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. It adds that kind of
I look at it
flavor.
this way: she was thrust in really fast. She did a couple things in television in Britain prior to this,
Mm-hmm.
and then boom, she hit Pirates of the Caribbean. That's around the timeline.
Actually, I still remember
Bended Like Beckham.
Bended Like
That's the
Beckham is my
timeline of
first
this
exposure.
How about the
particular-
hole? She was in the hole through
Before
that
she
horror
went
movie.
to KK.
Actually, yes, we get to see quite a bit of Akira there.
You know.
Not that there's much to see, but you know what I'm saying. So,
Yeah.
actually, I own that movie. I hate perversely to say just because of that reason, but anyway.
So
I
she has
digress.
been around a while. Yeah.
Oh, for
She
sure,
has
but,
been around, yes.
But my whole thing is that could you imagine someone walking up to you and asking you for your autograph? You can't sign it like you do your checks. What do you do? Oh my God, you don't even probably remember your first autograph.
Well, see, mine's got
That's
the more
right.
up and down kind of like woo, squiggly kind of like, and then with a slash across of it signature.
So this places it, and I checked out a blogger who collects
Mm-hmm.
autographs of her
Yeah.
throughout.
Mhm.
And yes, this and Jose's seem to fit the timeline and everything else.
Get it? When did she
From
sign
her-
it?
So this would have been Pirates of the Caribbean, kind of like within
The
that
first movie.
92s,
So like 10 to
90s.
15 years ago.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because from there she went to a KK,
Mm-hmm.
and then nowadays she just does this wiggly line, which is
Yeah,
horrible.
yeah. All right.
But anyway, so I'm happy with it.
It's cool, Mike.
I
It
like
is
it. It's
really.
got the tartan. I like. She's wearing a kilt. She's got the tartan. You know.
It's a very cool informal pose where like she's not actually posing for the camera, unlike completely mine, which is a fashion
And her-
shoot shot
Yeah.
where she's done to the nines and perfectly lit.
I
Yeah,
think
cool.
side by side these would be beautiful because you have a laid back her and then you have a fashion model one her. They're
Cool.
beautiful.
yeah,
Beautiful.
but that'll never happen because I own one and you own one now.
And is that what you?
someone's gotta die
And what
then.
did you pay for it, Mike? What's?
Oh, it says 75. I got.
Okay.
Of course, I got
Sandy
like
got a 20%
60 discount.
60 bucks?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Yep.
cool.
20% discount. That's a pretty good discount.
Well, that is fantastic.
In
So
case you
again,
need to see
I know
real
I'll
quick, there we
I'll
go.
film it. I'll film it. Don't just put it back. See. I'm gonna film it later, so you don't have to do that.
Oh well, I just did it.
There you go.
Anyways, Mike, it's a fantastic autograph. We love it. Thanks for bringing it again. And like I said, in the Silver Age Dudes, it's not always about comics. We got a lot of comics, but it's about other cool stuff as well.
And also, we didn't knock anything over in this segment.
Woo!
Okay, so high-end Jose is doing what he does all so often is he's showing up the rest of us. tonight, this is actually, I guess you consider it's kind of a historic episode now, because this is the lowest numbered X-Men we have ever shown on this show in the entire history of filming this show. And this is number 28. Oh my God, this goes... Jose, I am so jealous. I cannot tell you.
Yeah, all the books from now on, boys, hurt. Yeah, I've got my bargaining books out of the way for people when I collect on a spec budget.
This is the big boy books.
Yeah, but having said that, I am kind of uber competitive and somewhat vindictive, I guess. I mean, Mike showing that low X-Men 36 was a nice book, but it's a common run book. Here, I'm going to get the key factor out right now.
So I have sheer volume.
Yes, he has the quantity, I have the quality. We'll
Yeah.
leave that in my camp. This is X-Men 28, January 1967. First appearance of Banshee.
Wow.
Sean Cassidy.
Seen it many times, but not in that grade.
Well, yeah, a popular supporting character of the X-Men for decades. Banshee's alter ego, Sean Cassidy, is a pretty stereotypical of the name he claims. He's Irish, and he's a superpowered sonic scream like that of the Irish myth, except he's a dude. Yeah, and Banshees of Irish myth were strictly female.
Now, just to be clear, it's not the Sean Cassidy from the Hardy Boys, right?
No, not that, but Sean Cassidy. Yeah, he's been a brief full-time member of the X-Men, but the character is often associated with the team and other spin-off mutant teams as well. His first appearance in this issue is highly sought out and got a pretty good jump in demand after the character was introduced on screen in the X-Men movie X-Men First Class.
Wow.
Now, I'm subtitling this. Sometimes I subtitle a segment, and this one I will subtitle not at any cost. Now, it hurts me to say this a little bit, but I think both the features that highlight these books is I paid quite a pretty penny for these books. I mean, I'm not going to say the dealer, I got them both from the same dealer, but I definitely, obviously, what I'm trying to say painfully is I overpaid for these
You
books.
paid a bit, but
Yeah, the 40...
when are you going to find a book in...
Well, the 47th Overstreet price breaks for this book are 66, 154, 340, and 525 in the 6, 8, 9, and 9.2 grade splits. Now, condition-wise, this is what it's all going to come down to. Do I agree what the guy is pricing it as far as vis-a-vis the condition? It doesn't match the grade. I am optimistically thinking that it could, if pressed, if I were submitting it to get slab B, a fine, very fine, a 7.
Yeah.
Not higher than that, not at all.
You're off on that. I think it's higher.
I think it's only a 7. Now, at the 7, what you have to do is basically it's an in-between grade. As far as the guy, the price for a 7 would be figured out. You add the 6 and the 8 grades and you divide by half. So that's 66 and 144. That's 220 divided by half. That's $110 US.
Yeah.
Now, the only way I can rationalize this price making sense in that sense is if you follow Doug Salipa's list. That's the Overstreet guy who always gives you that list of all the hot in-demand key books, and it's like sometimes last year's guide, it was like something like 24 pages. He says that this book, as well as other selected early X-Men titles, you should price 100% above the guide price. Now,
So double whatever you say.
100% above the guide price of 110, 220. He's got it for 225. That's the only way it makes sense to
Yeah.
me. Okay.
I think it's a higher grade than that.
I have seen this book in about that grade for about 80, $100 Canadian. So it makes me think that I overpaid for this book, but only time will tell, and only will tell definitively if obviously I get it submitted, which is on the back burner considering the price paid.
Now, are you going to get this one graded eventually?
Not at that price unless something drastically changes with
If
the
you do,
book.
I think you're going to be happy.
So not
Okay.
at that grade.
No.
You're not crazy about the grade. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying that he's got it priced as far as what I think a 7 is if you agree with 100% bump from guide price according to somebody like Doug Salipa.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough. But
So-
it's a beautiful book, Jose. I really
Yeah.
love
Are you
it.
pulling the next one?
Yes, pull the next one.
I will do
Unfortunately,
it carefully now.
thank you.
Don't knock over. Any-
All right. So next book, this is unlike the first book. This is a low condition book, and this is possibly I know definitively, it's the lowest condition book I've ever showcased. But that's because this is Batman issue number 141, from August of 61.
Wow.
And it's a key.
That
This
was upsetting.
has the second appearance of the original Batgirl. Now, I've talked about a lot about the live action movie coming out, the price impact it's going to have on the Barbara Gordon Silver Age Batgirl. This, we're going back, this is the original Golden Age Batgirl, okay?
Cool.
Actually, this is silver, but like I said, a lot of people, this is very early Silver Age. Remember, August 6, 61. It's got the first appearance of the Clockmaster, and it's got a bondage cover. So this issue holds the second appearance of Betty Kane, known as the original Batgirl and like I said, I mean, I think that this hopefully will increase the price as far as the interest and the market collection demand for it. In the book Seduction of the Innocent by Frederick Wortham, Batman and Robin are accused of being gay lovers. The book spearheaded a backlash towards comic books that would eventually lead to the infamous Senate hearings. Not only was the Comics Code Authority established by all the major comic book publishers at the time in order to save their industry by censoring it, the character of Betty Kane, if you can believe, as Batgirl was actually created specifically as a love interest for Robin the Boy Wonder.
Really?
Yeah, this was an attempt to offset the gay allegation produced by Wortham's book. The ironic thing is that Betty Kane's aunt, Kathy Kane, as the original Batwoman, was created for the sole purpose of shaking off the gay allegations directed towards Batman as well.
Yeah.
So they're teaming them up, okay? When Batman comic sales began declining, editor Julius Schwartz would eliminate the Batgirl character from books, okay? Her last appearance is in the Silver Age, was in Detective Comics issue 322. The character would later be revived during the 70s Bronze Age in Teen Titans Volume Number 1, issue 50, where Batgirl joins Teen Titans West. This would later be retconned, and Batgirl will be returned out of existence. In other words, she basically got written out. That's her superhero persona, not Betty Kane though. Her character would only be revamped. Now, she was created by Bill Finger and Sheldon Moldoff. The rationale I can bring why I'm showing this book, the supply for this book is pretty thin, okay?
Yeah.
Raw copies in anything over a VG, that's a 4.0 grade at a reasonable price. You know, I can't justify paying the prices that people are asking for it. I count myself lucky that this recent snag is even a low grader. Now, how low I go? I went and said because of the extensive soiling or water damage all along the spine and being very noticeable in a white cover, okay, that this book, in my opinion, is no higher than a good, very good 3.0. And as we all know, a good, very good grade is not a very good grade at all. But you know what? Sometimes you have to take your medicine. I like the rest of the cover being fairly reasonably clean with no other damaging things that would affect the eye appeal of it. I guess I overpaid for it by how much? Let's come to that. The 47th edition of the Overstreet Price Guide shows $86, $129, $271, $461, and $650 as the 4, 6, 8, 9, and 9.2 price splits. At a sub 4 grade, I would roughly estimate the value of this in this condition at about $75, $80 US. That's something a little north of $100 Canadian. So you could say I paid a 50% premium.
Yeah.
Now, this book, as well as a lot of the earlier books, they're saying you can get anywhere from 100 to 150% above guide.
Yeah.
Now, if you believe that, then you paid somewhat market rate. If that's somewhat less, then obviously not. But 150 is a fairly reasonable comfort zone price, but I obviously did not get any kind of break on it.
But really, it comes down to this: go find it.
Yeah, go find
Go
it.
find it.
Yeah.
Where are you gonna find it? Go find it.
As I said, enough said on that.
It's a beautiful book, and it's
Go find
definitely, and I would say, I believe I'm correct when I say this. This is the earliest Batman comic we've ever shown on
Of
this
course,
show.
because it's a Batman 10-cent cover.
It's a 10-center. Fantastic book, Jose, and
I'm jealous.
I'm jealous. Thanks for bringing it in.
No problem.
Okay, certainly hope we get a whole lot of views for this episode because, wow, Jose, you are just hitting us with one major book after another. And here, this is an absolutely spectacular copy of Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. #5. Wow, Jose.
Yeah, that's what I said when I came upon this baby. Toronto Comic Book Show pickup. Yeah.
Sweet.
#5 issue from October 1968. I miss the Silver Age. Yeah, this is unfortunately, of course, the last complete story of Nick Fury done by Jim Steranko on the title. Yeah, the cover is, of course, terrific. I hate pointing things out that are patently obvious, but a bone white cover with colorful psychedelic artwork. It is rightfully noted as a classic cover in the Overstreet Guide.
That's for sure.
Yeah. The interior work is typical Steranko, full of color, black and white images, 1 and 2 page splash pages, psychedelic artwork, the works.
Wow.
Yeah, you definitely get your money's worth, especially when it was only 12 cents at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the story, Whatever Happened to Scorpio, is well done. It focuses on the man behind the villain Scorpio. You don't find out who he is in the book, but you can guess. His identity is confirmed later in an Avengers appearance, I think issue number 60, as Jacob Fury, Nick's bro.
Nice.
Yeah. Sadly, this book is not about the beginning of a new era of greatness for Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D., but rather the end of it.
The end. Yeah.
Jim Steranko leaves the book in terms of writing and only provides a couple of more great covers for issues 6 and 7. The Nick Fury title becomes like the early X-Men's. It flounders and it loses direction with a succession of writers and artists, and it finally succumbs after issue number 15. Their title has 3 reprint issues, then dies at number 18.
Yeah. Such a shame, eh?
Yeah. Now, reasons to pick up this Nick Fury issue include the character becoming a fixture in the Marvel Universe of movies and getting more positive exposure in the future. Now, I know, this is not the same Nick Fury, it's Samuel L. Jackson, but if you develop an interest in a character, chances are you're going to want to go back and read more about the history and origin of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Joss Whedon TV series, is garnering more positive interest in these books and maybe in Nick Fury also. The whole Steranko run of Nick Fury issues 1 through 7 are cheap relatively in the market, for now anyway.
I never found them cheap. Yeah,
I got them cheap.
I'm looking for them, and I never seem to get them at a reasonable price.
Yeah, of course, the elephant in the room, the thing that's, again, patently obvious, there is a lot of tanning in these books. Yeah, now that's what makes it difficult to find in grade, that tough white cover. Yeah. There's a lot of tanning, and I like a nice 9.2 white copy with white pages as a solid addition to any collection with lots of room to grow price-wise. Now, there is some tanning, especially around, I think, the borders of the book, but it's completely acceptable. The 47th edition of the Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide shows $56, $108, and $160 US as the 8, 9, and 9.2 price splits for this issue. I believe this is at least an 8.5, and I'm putting my grade on it. VF near mint, 9.0 copy. I paid $1.25 Canadian. They were asking for significantly more than that, but I was able to negotiate it to a price where I feel if a VF 8.0 is a little over $100, then I got this for about $10 less than the VF price. So
Nice.
Reasonable pickup, room there. As they say, a lot of meat on the bone still for me. So. Great pickup.
Yeah.
I think so.
I will get that graded.
Absolutely love that cover. It
One of
just
the ones I'm missing.
it just screams the psychedelic 60s.
I miss the Silver Age.
Fantastic,
Aw.
fantastic book, Jose. Thanks for bringing it in. And the beatdowns just keep on coming. Jose is definitely not taking any prisoners tonight. Oh, wow.
This is a knockout punch for you
This
guys.
is definitely a knockout punch. Fantastic.
Especially for the collector of Fantastic Four. Thanks.
I'm looking at you, kid. I'm looking at you. So, in the last couple of years since I've basically gone full bore into collecting comic books, I've been nibbling away at the edges of the Black Panther, snagging minor key issues that are semi-important to the mythos of the dude. Titles such as Astonishing Tales, issue number 6, featuring an early Panther solo outing against Doctor Doom in The Tentacles of the Tyrant, the Jack Kirby Black Panther Volume 1, Issue 2, The 6 Million Year Man, because I couldn't find a #1 copy at a reasonable price for grade. Avengers 52, where the Panther joins the Avengers in Death Calls for the Arch Heroes. And Jungle Action #5, featuring a reprint of Avengers issue 62 in The Monarch and the Man-Ape. All those were very satisfying, but it's like eating a meal of hors d'oeuvres, man. You want some meat and potatoes, you want that main course. Well, here it is, boys and girls. Fantastic Four, issue number 53 from August of 66.
That definitely is the meat and potatoes, that's for sure.
Second appearance and origin of the Black Panther. First appearance and origin of Claw. First appearance and actual death of T'Chaka. First appearance of Wakandan Vibranium. Yeah, this issue has it all.
Oh, yeah.
I've always said, if you're priced out of the first appearance of a major dude, you go for his second appearance.
Absolutely.
Yes. This is, of course, needless to say, a pretty important key issue concerning the character of the Black Panther. Not only is it the second appearance, including origin of the Panther, it holds many overlooked firsts as well. The origin of the Black Panther is directly related to the origin and first appearance of his arch nemesis, the villainous Ulysses Klaue. Now, as most already know, Klaue is responsible for killing T'Challa's pops, T'Chaka, the previous Black Panther, while attempting to steal vibranium. This origin also explains that T'Challa is responsible for the loss of Klaue's right hand. Now, vibranium is the same metal used to make Captain America's mighty shield. Still, this issue was not all that sought out before confirmation that the Black Panther would be in the Captain America Civil War movie last year in 2016, and that he was also getting, of course, his first solo venture next year, dropping February 16th, 2018, in 3.5 months. Now, at this point, I'm assuming that he'll be in the Avengers Infinity Wars 2-part flicks, but I think demand for this issue will continue to trend upwards because of that fact. Now, for some context, not that long ago, back in 2012 and 2013, this comic book at a CGC 9.4 near mint was only selling in the higher $400 US range. Now, by 2014, it had jumped and doubled in price to the $800 range, and beginning in 2015, it finally crossed the Rubicon and the $1,000 mark.
Wow.
Yeah, right now, as of this airing of this segment, the highest graded copy is a CGC 9.8. Actually, I believe there's 3 of them. There's well over 600 registered copies in the census, but I seriously think that there are a lot of quite few rare copies out there that are either in the process of getting graded or just sitting there in vaults. That means that caution should be exercised when purchasing raw copies. You want to avoid paying a bloated price. Now, the 47th over the street price shows $63, $147, $324, and $500 as the 6, 8, 9, and 9.2 price splits for this book. Of course, they're criminally underpriced. Keeping in mind, I mean, I'm giving you some context here again. I want to give you an extreme example of context. At a 9.8 for the first appearance, the previous issue 52, there's been some outrageously insane prices. I think Paul, in the last few episodes, is wanting to give us some eye-openers what things sell for at auction. 2 copies sold at a 9.8 for the first appearance. One of them made $80,000 US.
Wow.
Yeah, so at
That's crazy.
at $110 for about something a little shy of a fine copy, I would grade this at about a 5.5. The only thing I would hold against it, about 2.5 inches from the bottom right corner, there is a diagonal color break line. Other than that, it's got a few things here and there, but nothing terrible. It's still a good price. $110 Canadian is about something like $80, $85 US.
Yeah.
For
Right
this
from
book,
here.
for a grade like this, I think I got a deal. Thank you, Carlos and boys at Gotham Central, for this pickup. It was a commission book, obviously, so I didn't get any discount, but it's a nice snag.
Nice snag just the same, and
Sweet it is.
absolutely spectacular book and a very nice key. I'm in awe to be in its presence.
You may start worshiping at any point, boys and girls.
I will
Wow.
not. I will challenge you and buy it for less. Damn it.
So yeah, wow, tonight, Jose, you've really outdone yourself. I don't think we've had an episode in a while where you've shown so many or significant
All
books.
big books. All big books.
All big books.
And all grades.
All killer, no filler.
Yeah, we stole that tagline from one of our dealers. You know who you are.
Fat Dave.
But it accurately, I think, describes here there was no filler in this episode.
Okay. Well, that is spectacular, and I can't think of a better way to end the episode tonight. And what I'm going to do before we leave you is I'm going to show you some stock footage. Last episode we showed you some real nice stock footage of Altered States, which is Mike's major. Mike's local.
I'll be there tomorrow. Yeah.
And tonight we're going to show you some stock footage I've shot recently at Sandy Store, Retro Rare Collectibles.
Another beauty. Yeah.
Which is another spectacular store located Dixie 401 area in the Mississauga, which is a suburb of Toronto. And so we're going to leave you with that. And if you like what you saw, if you like this episode, leave some comments because we love reading them and we will always respond. And we will see you next time.
Hoi hoi, happy hunting.
Especially against Mike, yes, and I challenge you.